Today I'm going to be sharing with you the process of this oil painting that I worked on this past week from start to finish, as well as the process of getting re-inspired after facing some challenges in the painting process, which you'll see. Starting off with this warm white. Now, this paint was inspired by one of my favorite artists, Jimena Agra on YouTube here, and this is my first try using it. It's supposed to be a unifying warm color. The rest of my palette doesn't really have a lot of rhyme or reason. Mostly I just knew that I would need a cool yellow and a warm yellow, and I have a warm red and a cool red here, as well as turquoise gray, blue, and a green, just an overall full mixing palette. And then here I'm just going to be picking out some paintbrushes. For this painting I'm using exclusively flat brushes, and I'm using my Treckle Golden Taklon and another brand called Black Swan. They're very soft bristles, perfect for blending. Then once my palette's all laid out, I just go in with some underpainting. I'm using a burnt sienna, watered down with some Gamsol, and I try to block in some values here, but it's not too specific. And here I'm just going to go in with the first layer of paint. The goal of this isn't really to get the exact color down the first try. It's really just so that I can have something to work off of and bounce my future color matching and value matching. And as for the subject matter, lately I've really been loving fantasy storybook elements for my art. Think fairies and knights and princesses and mermaids, all things mystical and reminiscent of the magic of childhood. Something about a more blended and dreamlike quality of paint that I've been reaching for lately just goes so well with a story of a girl falling for a knight in shining armor. I've been so drawn to the idea of depicting love and tenderness through my art. I have always attempted this, but lately the need seems a lot stronger. I'm finding myself really wanting to channel my experiences into my art, not letting myself get so wrapped up in those experiences that I forget to document and record them back down. I've heard this saying many times in the artist community: create more than you consume. And I think what we all think when we hear that is consumption of shopping and ads and movies and TV and things that can really bog down our inspiration because we're so filled with the thoughts and creations of other people. But I think it can also mean the consumption of experiences and feelings. I think there's something within us that needs to be processed through the act of creation. I also think there's something within us that desires to create a feeling for someone else rather than consume something that someone else has curated for you or God forbid, an algorithm or AI has curated for you. So as I'm going through the next layer of paint, I'm really trying to focus on the midtones, and I'm trying to push that contrast of the cool metal armor against the warmth of the lover's hair and skin. Her white dress was causing me some trouble, though, and I couldn't find the correct values or hues on that white. I really hadn't decided if I wanted the white to appear warm or cool, and my lack of decision making really showed once I was done for the day. After about 10 minutes of deciding to stop painting for the day, I started seeing these little bubbles underneath my paint. It was so crazy. It looked like the paint was being rejected by the canvas. I've never had that happen before. And I was also really unsatisfied with how it looked, so I decided I needed to clear my mind. I was lucky enough to be able to take a little trip to the beach with my family. The beach is my favorite place in the world, and I was really excited to get out there and paint. While I was there, I painted these rocks, and I met a photographer who wound up taking my pictures, which was really cool. And here's how that final plein air came out. We really wanted to go to this beach here that has this pirate tower. But the day that we wanted to go, they had blocked off the rocks. It was too high tide, so we ended up just going up to the rocks and not really able to see the tower. So I planned on plein airing right there in front of the tower, but I wound up just finding this beautiful little spot with these rocks, so that was what I wound up painting that day. And I met another photographer who took my photo, which was just so cool again. And here's how that final ocean painting came out. Had a really amazing time, really inspiring, and I think I'm ready to get back to work. I started off by checking my work. This is how I usually like to see what the differences are in my reference versus my painting. If I feel like there's a lot of mistakes, I'll go on Procreate and toggle back and forth to see the difference. I'm trying to save as much paint as I can, but this is from my palette from a week prior, so a lot of it has dried. It gets that little crust over the top, and then you have to try to scrape away all the wet paint underneath. Returning to this painting, I knew that I would have to fix a lot of the values. I knew that the structure of the face and the head of the girl in the front just was not right. So I made a point to not oil out, which is the term for covering your dried oil painting in linseed oil to try to get closer values when you're painting on top of it. But I made a point not to do that this time because I really wanted to redefine all of the values I had from scratch. So I started with the darkest black I could mix on my palette and worked my way up from there with the grays on the night suit and the browns in her hair. For me, taking that pause in between on this piece to work on other things and gather inspiration was so valuable. I started to feel disheartened after working on it the first time, as you could tell, because I was so excited about this idea, and it just wasn't panning out how I had hoped. But taking that break to work on some gouache plein air pieces gave my brain the change of pace it needed to see this night piece in a different light. When I was outside painting from life, I really was able to remember that value is really the director of shapes in a painting. So returning to my night, I was able to see where I had got the values wrong, especially around the shapes of this girl's face, contributing to that wonky bone structure look. And on an emotional, art blocky level, I was able to consume bits of the world in a way that was so helpful, with the intention of bringing them back into my art practice at home. And all of that sounds pretty clinical, but there's just an aspect of having fun, getting sunshine, that can really reinvigorate you into wanting to capture beauty. I know it does for me. Yay, we finally decided what hue this white dress is. I tried to go for more of a cool highlight and a more warm shadow, so we went with a warmer yellow-green shadow, blending out into blue, and to almost a pure cool white. One of my favorite elements of the finished piece is these variations in hue in the brown hair. I was able to get this really cool effect of not having a lot of value changes, but getting this more warm red brown and this more cool green brown to show texture in the hair. So why was I drawn to this depiction of love? I think I'm drawn to the softness of love, being able to break down barriers between people. I intend for this to be a series of paintings, which show the knight taking her armor off and seeing her lover eye to eye. But in this image, I feel a devotion coming from the girl, loving despite the hard exterior, and knowing that it's only a protective measure on the part of the warrior. The knight accepts, despite her still being battle ready and her identity completely shrouded. She doesn't fight it because she knows the girl is just as vulnerable. She may even feel a need to protect her with the armor. All of this wasn't really my mental process going into painting, I usually have a more visual interest where I'll find references that inspire me and go from there and interpret it after the fact. So this is just my personal interpretation after creating. And I'd be curious to hear your interpretations as well. Usually when I'm painting, I'm watching something for entertainment, whether a YouTube video or a movie, and whenever I look at that painting after it's complete, whatever show or movie I was watching is forever tied to the finished product of that painting in my mind. So now when I'm painting in these grasses and these greens, I'm remembering watching My Neighbor Totoro. I love the nature and the greenery in Studio Ghibli films, or is it Ghibli? I don't know. I say Ghibli. I love the nature in Studio Ghibli films, and those bright, like lemony greens in the countryside in My Neighbor Totoro were all that I was pulling from while I was painting these grasses. Here I'm just putting in all the final details, adding extra darkness and extra glow, especially around her hair. I really wanted this orange glow, as if the sun was shining through her hair. And I wanted to push these yellows in these grasses a little bit more. I really liked the randomness of the flowers and the grasses. Usually I would do something a little bit more detailed, but I think I like the way the random brush strokiness worked for me in the end. After all the finishing details are done, it's time to add my signature. It's time for the big reveal, the finished piece. I really love it. I achieved what I set out to do, and it just took a little bit of extra time and effort and rededication to my original inspiration. And I really hope you enjoyed watching. I am really excited to be making videos about art. I really appreciate you for investing your time and watching this video. I hope to see you again soon. Bye!